Awesome. Well, welcome everyone. We're gonna go ahead and get started. Before we jump into all of the content, I'm gonna do a little quick housekeeping. First, some of you might recognize me from some of the other Intercom webinars. My name is Mark Iafrate. I'm on the marketing team here at Intercom, and I'm gonna be moderating the panel discussion today. Go ahead and say hi in the chat. Everybody's doing it. Love seeing where everybody's joining from. I'm coming to you from Intercom's downtown San Francisco office. And I know people usually ask, we are absolutely recording this webinar, and we're going to be sending out a link to everybody to this tomorrow to the email you registered with. That'll include a full link to the recording, a bunch of little clips and snippets, and a summary of all the key takeaways and a bunch of the resources that we're going to be talking about. We're also going to be doing a live Q&A at the end, so feel free to start submitting questions now all the way through as you kind of think of them. You can go to the Q&A tab there on the right side of your screen. You can ask those there. You can also upvote any questions that you see that you want to have answered. I'm also going to be kicking off a couple of live polls as we go through the webinar. Once those are live, you'll see them in a little poll tab over there, and there'll be a tiny little notification that pops up on the bottom of the screen, so feel free to take part in those. And last but not least, you'll notice a little docs tab there as well. We included a few kind of like supplemental resources and bits of information there that can help all of you kind of take some of the next steps that you might want to take based on the discussion that we have today. So feel free to check those out now or afterwards. So now that all the boring housekeeping stuff is out of the way, we will kick off some introductions. Rachel, do you want to go ahead and start us off?
Sure. My name is Rachel O'Brien. I work for Text in Church, and we're a platform that helps communication with churches. I'll get into that more later, but I help on the backside with member experience and lead up our quality. And I'm located in the United States and outside of Kansas City, Missouri, kind of in the countryside. And I use Intercom and Scorebuddy in my day-to-day work. So that's who I am.
Love it. You're going to be an expert on all of this. Love it.
Go Chiefs.
Jordan.
Yeah, someone say that.
Love it. Jordan, do you want to go next? Oh, you're on mute, Jordan.
Thank you. Great start. I'm Jordan McGovern, the Customer Success Team Lead at Scorebuddy. Scorebuddy is an all-in-one QA platform that combines quality management, coaching, learning, BI analytics, and AI. My team focuses on optimizing QA processes for our clients by pinpointing areas for improvement and driving impactful changes.
Fantastic. And Laura, do you want to round us out?
Yeah. Hey, everyone. My name's Laura Seacat, and I'm currently working as the Quality and Continuous Improvement Manager here at the Intercom Customer Support Team, more specifically within the Support Operations team. I'm based out of our beautiful office here in Dublin, but I work with the Global Support Team, leveraging QA reviews and AI to review quality at scale for both humans and bots. So that's a bit of a mouthful. Thanks for bearing with me. But I'm really excited to be here today and chatting all things AI and support ops.
Thank you, Laura. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm personally really excited for this group. It's going to be that right level of in-depth stuff, but also some great strategy discussion. So really, really pumped for this one. This is today's agenda. I'm going to do a really quick primer on what AI first customer service is. It'll take maybe 5 minutes, and it's really just to help everybody kind of just to set the stage so we all have the context that we need for the discussion. And then we're going to dive right into the live discussion. That's going to be pretty much the entire thing. We're not going to be digging into a bunch of slides or anything. And we'll start with the different use cases that all of our different panelists are using for AI right now in their support operations. We're going to talk through some of the key lessons that they've learned from rolling a lot of this out and optimizing it. And also kind of like do a little bit of a look to the future to see what we expect things to kind of evolve into as we continue on this AI journey. And then, like I said before, we'll have plenty of time at the end for a live Q&A. And before we even dive into that, I'm going to go ahead now and open up that first poll. You should see it in the poll tab. It's also there on the little like bottom section. We're asking just to what extent are you currently using AI in your support strategy? So feel free to choose one of those. They're really basic. We're just trying to get a sense of where people are, and we can kind of help us tailor some of our discussion as we go through it. And once I get done going through all these slides. We'll review those results in a little bit. So some of you may have seen a slide or visualization or graphic like this, but it illustrates the way that we think about AI internally here at Intercom, which is really within the context of history and all the different technological evolutions and revolutions that have happened in the past. And all of these technological breakthroughs, from the printing press to the internet and now AI, emerged and then completely transformed society for the better. And as we get more recent, the speed with which these technologies are adopted and embraced by society as a whole gets faster and faster. And what they all have in common is they take on this kind of S shape, where in the beginning, the adoption is a little bit slower, and then it begins to accelerate rapidly. Now, right now, we're still at the beginning of kind of this AI wave of innovation. And this is also where the early adopters, all of today's panelists, all of you attending today, kind of start to embrace that new technology, while the kind of skeptics and laggards continue to hold off. And so, yes, we're still very early with AI, and there's a lot of speculation about what it could be, what it should be, what kind of security and restraints we should have on it. But what we do know is that this is the future, right? It's going to be like air, is what I typically say. It's going to be a part of every single thing that we do, just like the internet has become. And what we know is that the businesses that adopt it early and in the right ways are going to win, and those that wait are just going to end up falling behind. And the interesting thing is that the world of customer service and customer support is one of the earliest and clearest to be positively impacted by AI in a really meaningful way. And that's because these large language models and AI tools that are powering these AI tools and AI agents are really, really good at doing a lot of the things that customer support agents and teams do today, right? AI can consume and analyze vast amounts of data and information. It can synthesize it and then use it to troubleshoot problems and generate accurate answers at insane speeds. And not only can it do that often faster and more accurately than most humans can, but it can also do it in any language, and it can do it 24/7. And so that's why this technology is so transformative for customer service agents and leaders, but also for the customers that we serve, because it not only increases efficiency, but it more importantly frees up time for the teams to take on those more nuanced problems that actually need a human. Now, we're really early in this still, but we're already starting to see some of our customers and companies in this space reducing their inbound support volumes by 30, 40, 50. We've seen some customers upwards of 80%, which is just mind-blowing to me. And what we know is that as more businesses start to embrace AI, we're seeing kind of two distinct paradigms emerge in the world of customer support. And we very creatively kind of call those the old way and the new way. Now, the old way is what all of us here and what most people are already familiar with. It's this world where phone and email kind of dominated. Customers would often have to wait for a long time, hours, sometimes even days, or they end up just getting intentionally deflected. And a lot of those interactions were asynchronous tickets or conversations. And in general, it can have this very impersonal feel. And on top of that, onboarding support agents can take a long time. And even when they're finally up to speed, they have to answer a lot of repetitive questions. And in doing so, they have to dig through a ton of different sources of information that live in all these different places. And they're ending up doing that manually to look up those answers. And that's all kind of like the old way, right? But now there's a new way to do customer service, which is AI first. And it's important to note that as you think about AI first customer service, yes, there's a component of product change and tool change involved, but more importantly, it's a mindset change about how we should be thinking about customer service, but also how we develop our strategies and how we optimize our systems. And most importantly for customers, it means that AI agents are able to respond to questions and provide instant accurate answers 24/7 in any language. But it also means that agents will be fielding more nuanced and unique questions. And they're also going to have like an AI co-pilot there to help, right? Like a little buddy there in the inbox, wherever you're working in your tool, that has access to all the internal and external content and data and materials and previous conversations and tickets to help them troubleshoot the problem. And this Copilot can also provide more general guidance and onboarding, which means agents are more effective more quickly, and they can answer questions faster. And then more importantly, again, focus on the biggest challenges for customers. And then for leaders, like AI analysts and AI insights are going to provide much better coverage, right? Full coverage, deep insights for all the key metrics, and doing so on all of your conversations, all of your interactions, all of your tickets, not just that kind of tiny fraction that was previously possible. So as we go through our discussion today, and we're talking about AI first customer service, that's what we mean. That's kind of setting the stage for it. This new way means that customers will get instant, excellent answers to almost all of their questions delivered by AI instantly. And when it isn't instant, they get deep, attentive, personal service because the agents actually have the time and the ability to serve their customers and have AI help them to do that. So that's what AI's first customer service looks like. As we go into this, keep in mind, every company support strategy and system is a little different. And not only are the panelists here today at different points or different levels of maturity, I'm sure everybody tuning in, you're going to be at a different place maybe than some of the folks here, and that's totally okay. We all have the same goal. We want to improve support ops. We want to do that using AI. And at the end of the day, just improve our customers and our users' experiences. And as we go through, we're not going to be telling you, here's exactly what you have to be doing with AI, because there is no one size fits all strategy. What we're here to do today is just show you all the different ways that you can leverage AI and give you some really deep insights and useful information to help you and your teams figure out where you can be using this new technology right now to make the biggest positive impact as quickly as possible. Great. So that's all I'm going to be doing with slides. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing those now. What I would like to do is pull up the responses to that first poll. Oh, this is great. Okay, so to what extent are you using AI in your support strategy? Just about 20% saying a lot, which is great to see. About over half, 55% saying somewhat, and then almost a quarter saying not at all. This is a little bit different than I thought. This is fantastic. So for those that are kind of saying a lot, you'll get some great insights into some of the specific nuances. But if you're just starting to dip your toes or you're not using it at all, this will be a great way to see how you can potentially get started implementing some of these things into your support operations. So I'm going to stop sharing that one. Before we dive into the discussion, I'm also going to open up this second poll if you want to. Go ahead and feel free to start voting on this one. It's just basically asking, how are you now? Or if you're not already, how are you planning to use AI in the near term? So, think about the next 3 to 6 months. We're going to keep this up as we go through all of the discussion, and we'll review the results at the end before we dive into the Q&A. So let's get into it. Let's see here. I got my notes up. All right. So we're going to start by talking a bit about the kind of support operation use cases from in AI from our panelists today. Rachel, I'm just going to go ahead and start with you. When we were prepping, you had mentioned you're using Intercom's AI agent Finn to automatically handle some of those kind of frontline questions, but you're also using AI in your support QA. I would love to just hear first, can you give us a general idea of what Text in Church support ops looks like, and maybe explain kind of some of those basic use cases for AI?
Yeah, of course. I would love to. So Text in Church is a platform that helps churches communicate with guests and members outside of Sunday morning. So we're working with a lot of people with our platform, writing in, asking questions, all the different things about, typical support and success. But our support structure, we have a success team that helps with anyone that's a new trial, just getting started, trying to learn how to start the platform, how to use it. And then we have an amazing support team that will dig in and ask more advanced questions or troubleshooting and things like that. And so we value IQS a lot. It's a really big deal at Text in Church. So I lead up our IQS and have that all set up. And so we find that it's really important to have, we always say we strive to have the best customer service ever. So we work really hard on that. But we find that ongoing coaching really helps our teammates. You might use the word agent. I like to call them teammates, but how they're going about doing things. And so our support managers, even like manager and a success manager, both like they jump in and they do QA as well, along with me. And so that we all have kind of a pulse on where we're going with the quality of our conversations. And so when we get to the AI side, we use Fen. So we use Intercom, and Fen starts every conversation that comes in to our box. And Fen sees if he can answer the question for them first. And then from there, we will kind of go through there, and we actually treat Fen just like one of our human agents, like one of our human teammates. Like we call him a he, but like Fen is like one of the guys, like, so we talk about him when we present his stats. As I'm QAing, if there's something that Fen answered wrong, if it hasn't already been flagged for our support manager to go adjust the content that he's been fed, we laugh and we call it, we're not educating him, we're feeding him what he needs to know. So we'd always talk about, we need to go feed Fen something different, but it allows you to see those gaps. If Fen didn't answer wrong, it's because we gave him the wrong answers. And so we have to go in there and make a few adjustments, but I can see that in QA as well. So if we haven't already flagged it, then I'll flag it and work through that. But we actually post Fen's stats. We have a Monday morning meeting with our whole team. We talk about all of our stats from the different teams. And Fen has his own section. It's really fun that we get to talk about, how many has he responded to, what percentage of our volume, which is always increasing, which is really cool to see, because that's saving us teammate hours. Because, most of what he's responding to us are like repeated questions that, like, let's be honest, as a support person, those are kind of boring to answer, the same ones over and over again. So Fen will tackle those for us. But we also get to CSAT just like the rest of our team. So we'll look at a CSAT and see like what was going on. Our success manager or support manager, she will go in, and if he has a bad review, we go in and like analyze why. Like, what did we do wrong? Does he have the wrong information? Was it just the experience and that, and what is going into that? So we look at his metrics just like we do our human agents and really dive into that. But as for the AI side of all of that, and like, how does AI come into my QA? I just love the ability to not have to QA the like really simple, easy ones, like the ones that can be used with like a macro or a saved template. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, I know that my agents can use a saved template to answer the questions as I need to. So I'm able to use AI to filter down and to get to the more complex issues, or I can look for specific terms if there's things that I've noticed we're having issues with. It also allows me to see like, hey, we're having a lot of repeated issues with our platform. And I can run a flag up the flagpole and say, hey, has anyone noticed, like, I'm seeing several of these in our QA? So it's not just the quality, but it's also helping the whole experience. We're very experience driven for our members. And so we're really focusing on that as well. So yeah, that's kind of how I set that up. That was long-winded, but that's how we have that set it up.
No, that's fantastic. And I love that you talk about treating Fen kind of like a human. I've heard that from other folks that I've talked to, other customers. And I would love to hear, obviously launching kind of Fen, it's similar to, but not exactly like onboarding a new rep, but I would love to just hear about how did you prepare to launch kind of like Fen, this like AI agent to your customers? I would love to just hear really quickly about what that was like.
Yeah. So as we were thinking about this, we were thinking about like, what can we feed him? What can we give Fen? And so of course we have our help center that was, we had all built out and all the things. We had our internal promotion, like any of our pieces, like our lead magnets or any of our marketing materials that would talk about our product was put in there. Our website was put in there. Webinars that we host are put in there. So all this information we gave him. And then kind of as we were going, we were looking and seeing that like, okay, we might need to adjust here, we might need to adjust there. But that's kind of how we like thought about that. We actually ended up restructuring our help center some because we realized it made more sense to be more concise and to put it in a different structure for that. But yeah, it was a lot of thinking about what can we give him. We have a YouTube channel. We gave him that. I mean, we give him all kinds of stuff, so trying to figure that out to see what he could glean from.
Yeah, I love that. And it's those are two things you hit on that we've noticed that help be successful. It's one, feeding it as much useful, accurate information as you can. And then the the other side of that is kind of like the continuous improvement of that content. You mentioned formatting. We've noticed, like, even at Intercom, that's been a huge thing that we've done, is just not necessarily even the substance of the content, but just like how you format it and phrase things can really help.
Yeah,
and as
we thought things were really solid at their help center, and we're like, oh, we could do better. And so it like helped us identify to like hone in and do better. So
absolutely. And when you launched it, do you have a sense of like what the initial resolution rates look like? And also, you had mentioned the kind of continuous improvement, and you had mentioned, like, adding content and stuff, but would love just to hear how you think about continuous improvement over time, just to make that end user experience a lot better.
Yeah, so when we first were watching all his stats, like we weren't getting a lot of responses at first, and so we kept trying to dial in and see, like, Finn's not able to handle very many. Why not? And so we kept kind of refining and kept looking and seeing what was missing. And we kind of just kept playing around with that. If there's a negative one, we like pointed that out right away and figured out, oh, that was actually not updated on our website. So let's go do that, and things like that. But it's been really fun to watch, though, the increase. Like we get like, we like to throw emojis on our Monday morning meetings, but like when Finn has a really good, like he has lots of good weeks now. In the beginning, it was like kind of slow getting started. And then the more we kind of refined it, we could drastically see those numbers go up. And like, there's some weeks that he will resolve 30% of our conversations that we didn't even have to touch, which is like huge for time savings and just fast customer experience. Like we want to answer them fast, but it is not always possible to do it immediately. And so that has been really cool. And actually the thing that surprised us is that our customer base has always been very heavy on email support. Like they have that's like their preference. And so we've always done a huge chunk of email and a little bit of chat. And since we've implemented Finn, last week I looked at the stats before this meeting, because Monday we just had our meeting, and we actually had double the chat requests than emails. And so we have far surpassed email, because I think our customer base is seeing that, hey, I can go and I can get these answers really, really quick. And they're solid answers as well. So that's really cool. But I do want to put one thing in here to note, because I know some of you are back there going, yeah, it's a bot. But there is a way to bypass the bot. We have a few customers that just will never like the bot, no matter how amazing Finn is. And so there is a way that you can bypass that. And so we have a little tag in Intercom that says like no bot, like no Finn or whatever, and so hopefully Finn's not too offended by that. But I do want you to know there is a way that, like, if we know of somebody like it frustrated them and they're just not ever going to love it because they know it's a bot, then you can bypass it. And that's a really cool feature. So. Yeah.
No, it's great that you're doing that, and it's always good to provide that to people. And you had hit on it. We've seen that, like, once people start to interact with it and they start to see how useful it is, the usage starts to go up from the end kind of customer side. Jordan, I want to switch over to you. Rachel just talked about the kind of like starting, like the way that you start with AI is with like an AI agent to resolve those repetitive queries, and then moving into kind of AI in other areas, like a co-pilot to assist reps. But when we were planning, you guys had said that you're kind of doing it in the opposite way. Can you give us a little bit of kind of context around that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first part is probably to understand our current process. So as a support team, we usually work from like in-app support messages. And again, that comes directly through tickets that our customer success managers deal with. And currently our team is in a bit of a transition phase, moving from a direct ticket only approach with a dedicated success manager to a more scalable model. So in the past, we've used standard answer bots to populate knowledge articles in our support portal for the reps to access, which have been really helpful. But now we're leveraging Finn's AI Copilot to assist CSMs with internal information in the Intercom inbox directly from things like Confluence, historical ticket data, which has honestly been huge, especially how seamless it was to just kind of get that information in from the previous CSM we were using. And yeah, overall, it's just greatly improved efficiency.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I love to call that out, because it shows that you can start to implement AI no matter where you kind of are. And you guys are doing the right thing, which is starting from the first principles of, we have to adjust our strategy. Let's find a way to start getting something together now to help us, and then continuously kind of moving into like other applications of it. So you're you're expanding AI into newer areas now. What's kind of coming next after, your people are using the Fin AI Copilot now, like within the inbox, helping reps surface information, answer questions in that kind of like one-to-one way. But what are you expanding into next? What's next for your AI support strategy?
Yeah, so look, the main goal is to reduce resolution times, improve efficiency, and scale our operations, leading to higher customer satisfaction, which is why we're continuously refining the AI tools and support processes to better meet our clients' needs. So next up would be implementing Fin AI Agent to automatically handle the simple and repetitive frontline requests. As I said before, we had that I guess that kind of auto bot or auto response that would lead to a knowledge base of some sort beforehand, which honestly had been quite successful in terms of, again, how good your knowledge base is. But we are looking forward to kind of going to that next level to really bring down that area. But the other part then would be that kind of pre-support as well that we could add to it as well, about getting in information if there's any damages or downtime or any of that type of thing. We can alert customers earlier through Intercom as well. And so the other thing then is to launch Fin through in-app conversations, and we have a dedicated scaled support agent to monitor these and optimize for faster resolutions and improved resolution rates.
Oh, it's awesome. I kind of like maybe a bit of a two-part follow-up to that. First, once Fin AI agent is actually out in the wild and you've got that kind of dedicated scaled support rep in place, first, how do you imagine she or he will actually monitor and optimize Fin? And then the second one is, what are some of the other ways you kind of continue to refine your different AI tools or strategies after that?
Yeah, so for the first one, our dedicated support rep should monitor Fin's AI agent's performance in real time using dashboards, ensuring swift adjustments to optimize response times and resolution rates. They'll conduct regular quality checks and implement feedback loops to refine the AI responses alongside like some A/B testing to enhance effectiveness. Honestly, it will be a huge part of it, as well as making sure that we are, as Rachel said, feeding Fin as much as possible to make sure that everything's up to date, because obviously that is a huge part. And again, something that we failed with before, when it came to just kind of moving from the knowledge base, being able to kind of have this constant approach will be huge. The second question, if I can remember, so we're enhancing AI capabilities by integrating more data sources and advancing natural language processing. So our CSMs can now customize AI responses to better fit their needs. Continuous training with the latest techniques ensures our Fin evolves dynamically, and these steps are key to refining our AI tools and strategies. So that will elevate our customer support efficiency and satisfaction overall.
I love that. And I love that you guys are thinking really thoughtfully about kind of the role of that kind of scaled support agent. It's great having somebody dedicated to not only monitoring, but then building those feedback loops, like you said. And it always kind of comes back to this knowledge management, building a culture around it, a strategy around it, systems to make sure that all that is up to date, because that really is the lifeblood of what powers Fin. Awesome. So Laura, I'm going to push it over to you. So most people here can probably guess that Intercom is using our own tools, Fin AI Agent, AI Copilot. You can briefly touch on that if you want, but since we've really discussed that, I would love to maybe hear more about how you're ensuring that any conversation that is touched by AI is kind of maintaining that quality level that you want to see.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned, yes, of course, we're using our own tools, and I just want to, brag for a moment and say that a year in to using AI in our support strategy, Fin AI Agent has been a godsend and has been taking a lot of our conversation and has over 40% resolution rates month over month. And now in the past month with Fin Copilot, we're seeing about 50% of support conversations are using a Copilot answer. So that's just making our agents' lives easier as well every day. But of course, like you said, my main problem every day is the quality of these interactions. And so I'll focus on that now. So of course, you might think, what is high quality, first of all? Like, what are you even monitoring? And it'll depend on your business. But for us right now, what we're most concerned about is that interactions that use AI are helping customers have resolutions more efficiently without compromising on the communication and the depth of knowledge. So the main way that we're ensuring high quality is through QA reviews. And actually, because Finn is taking so many conversations, a lot of those QA reviews are actually done by our tenured support agents. So it's been a great way as well for people to get out of the inbox and do something new. In particular, though, when we are reviewing for Finn or AI conversations, we avoid random sampling, and I know people love that in QA in general. It's like seen as like very fair to randomly sample, but I do think when it's an AI agent, no one's going to be hurt, and it's way more efficient. So we've been using Scorebuddy essentially to create these reoccurring assignments where we narrow down to conversations we see as more insightful. So for example, you can create that reoccurring assignment. That's also an automation you don't have to worry about by doing that. But within that assignment, you can narrow it down. So for example, through the Intercom API, and it's already in Scorebuddy, you can narrow down by like Finn resolution state. So if you want to only review soft resolutions or abandons, like you can do that. You can just get straight to those. Or you can use other AI metrics. So something we do is we focus on like negative sentiment or like negative customer experiences that are shown through like unhappy language, or maybe complaints about the product. So we'll narrow down and like create different assignments based on these things so that we can be sure we're always going straight to what's important. And any minute that I'm given for us to work on QA is used to get an insight for the business. We also have our human scorecard, like including Finn as well. So if you're reviewing a human and Finn was there at the beginning of the conversation, you also should track how Finn did in that scenario as well. And like Rachel mentioned as well, we have Finn CSAT, and frankly, we watch this like a hawk because it's still very new. As someone who's worked in quality for years and is so used to CSAT, Finn CSAT is different, and customers' expectations of AI are different than humans. And so it's something we're still learning about. And I do think it's like really important that you do pay close attention. And yeah, also we're working on implementing technologies like auto QA. That's something I've been looking into for the last year. However, we're not using it for Finn AI agent conversations just yet. But don't worry, it's not because I don't think it's possible or a good idea. It's simply because my own methodology would be to have a bank of like human reviewed Finn conversations on the scorecard you want to use, and then always be able to use that when testing the auto QA. So you just minimize the need to constantly check for accuracy. You can basically make it into a formula, and it'll be a lot easier. So that's something I'm working on at the moment. But yeah, just to tease it out there.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that, and I think this is kind of a recurring theme, which is to like not only monitor closely, but you can almost think about it as a human. Rachel had talked about that. Like, you're not going to hurt Finn's feelings, which is the best part of this, but to make sure that you're able to really benchmark against like the best of the best human interactions, because that should be the goal, is for people to feel like they're actually able to, they're getting the same experience as a human, but it's faster, it's more efficient in any language.
Exactly.
Great. So we're going to switch gears just a little bit. I want to dive a bit into some of the unforeseen challenges all of you has faced, or maybe another way might be, what would you go back and do differently? Because I know based on our poll, there was a lot of people who haven't started yet. Maybe they're thinking about this. So try to be thinking through maybe what are some tips that could help people. And so, Laura, you're just going, how about we start with you? What are your kind of thoughts around that?
Yeah, I have two. So one is like a general issue that the support team had, but I think it's like something that pretty much everyone here will face, is that when we especially kicked off with Copilot, we were using the new Intercom internal knowledge base, and our internal knowledge had been something that hadn't been reviewed quite as stringently as our public help center. And so we realized pretty quickly that a lot of these articles are shaped in many different ways. And so we needed to create a style guide for internal knowledge so that it was also optimized for Finn AI agent for Copilot specifically. So definitely learn from our mistakes. And I think one of the resources that Mark has linked goes into the style guide. So definitely check that out. And then a unforeseen challenge for me was that obviously I was very cocky, and I didn't realize that QAing an AI agent would be very different from QAing a human. So I'm continuously evaluating what I'm doing, what scorecard I'm using. And if I knew what I know now, I would definitely start shaping a scorecard that's based on the customer experience rather than just a checklist of did it do X, did it do Y, because that's really what matters when it comes to introducing AI to your customers. So that's what I'd recommend, and to avoid all my trouble.
I love that. Rachel, do you want to go share some thoughts?
Well, yeah, I mean, my answer to that question, flip that around, is very similar to Laura's. She also gave me, some good things to think about too, because we have learned that it is very different QAing like the agent, like an actual person versus Fen, and working through that. But a lot of ours has also been focused on documentation. Like we thought we were really solid with our help center, and they're like, hold on, let's do another scope through this and like get our content in the same, as well as internal documentation. We've done a huge push this year with our company to get a lot of internal documentation, which is also going to be helpful. I mean, we just had a meeting today about this, which will be helpful when we're working with the Copilot as well, because that's going to be able to help us some of our internal processes that we can also teach AI about how to help our agents, especially our brand new ones, how to help those new teammates figure out what those answers are. So yeah, I don't have a lot extra to add, but yeah, I agree with Laura on everything she had to say, plus that. So.
Oh, love hearing that. And Jordan, how about you and Scorebuddy?
Yeah, so a little less interesting, but one of the challenges we have faced, and again, this is being having an AI platform as well, but was ensuring that our AI systems complied with data privacy regulations and handled customer data ethically. Obviously, it's a lot different across the world and different laws on how AI comes in, and that stuff's going to change more and more as we go along. But it was just something we had to be quite aware of at the beginning, implement strict data governance policies and incorporate then privacy by design principles. But again, what we did to get around this, we conducted regular audits and compliance checks to ensure we met all the necessary standards, as well as then worked with companies who sent us on questionnaires and different things like that as well. And overall as well, just as another one, like even when you are beginning an AI project of any sort and coming from saying one system to another, there is always going to be a huge challenge of, accuracy and making sure that that data, especially if it's coming from somewhere else, that it matches and whatnot as well. But they've kind of been the main items that I've come across.
Fantastic. And so I'm keeping an eye on time. I want to make sure we have plenty of time for the live Q&A, but maybe we can do like a quick bit about looking at the future. So I would love to hear, and like Rachel, I'll ask you first this, but like, how do you imagine AI kind of changing the support ops landscape, maybe within the next 6 months or so? Do you have anything specifically within your plans?
Yeah, I'm really wanting to dive in. I do 10% of conversations roughly right now through QA, and I'm really wanting to dive into the AI features to get to that 100%. Like that sounds so awesome. So I'm going to keep digging with our tools and working to get 100% coverage of QA for our conversations to be able to see those things.
Yeah, we've heard that a lot. And Laura, how about you?
So in the next 6 months, just generally, I think if you're a support ops leader, you need to be looking at using AI to mine insights, because your conversations have so much information you have no idea about unless your agents tell you or you manually read them. Whether it's feature requests, customers are unhappy about a certain product, they don't like a process, they don't like that ticket you keep sending them when they complain. You won't know unless you read everything, and you can't because you don't have enough hours in a day. So definitely keep your eye on that. And then for me personally, auto QAing Fin AI agent is really important to me. And that's something that if you come back to me in 6 months, hopefully I'll be able to say, I did it. I did it, guys.
Oh, I love that. Jordan, want to take us home?
Yeah, one or two. So again, building on what Laura and Rachel had mentioned, there is our new GPT auto scoring feature that can evaluate up to 100% of interactions, cutting QA by 60%. This is something we're working heavy on at the moment with Intercom and Text in Church as well. But again, just being able to score every interaction across all channels, auto QA isn't going to be a replacement for evaluators. It's an enabler, allowing them to concentrate on more high value items like analysis and coaching and strategy. Something else that again I'd like to hope in the next 6 months that we can kind of get to as well. One of the biggest time consumers on my team would be around stuff like basically going across system and it, like say something like Fin Point. Now this is a complete example, but Fin Copilot being able to like say raise a Jira ticket to a completely different system and being able to, like summarize and help developers and support members really like be efficient and get the most out of it as well. But just, I guess, yeah, overall, love to see that happen in the next 6 months.
Yeah, we've actually heard that from a number of folks, and I can't promise anything. The R&D team will kill me if I say this, but I know one of the things that we're looking at is the ability to start being able to take actions with Fin AI Agent or AI Copilot to be able to kind of do some of the specific manual follow-on tasks from that. So plus one to that for sure. Great. So I'm going to go ahead and review. I'm going to show here the results of that final poll. Let's see what we got here. So how are you or planning to use AI in the near term? Yeah, that's about 42% automatically answering customer support requests. Absolutely. That's very, very common that we see. It's usually that, I hate this phrase because I use it too much, but low hanging fruit. And then it looks like there another 23% servicing relevant help content to reps. Yeah, the kind of like the Fin AI Copilot use case. Those are very clearly usually the two first use cases we see people really diving into because it fits so naturally within most of the kind of support strategies and support operations. We got automatically QA all conversations. Yes, that was just what Laura and Rachel had just talked through. I am excited to see the analyzing team performance in there too, because that's something that I know we're working on, and being able to provide deep insights into the automated interactions, the human interactions, or those kind of like hybrid interactions, and really digging into those key metrics, but also evaluating the new kind of metrics that are coming out of a lot of these tools. And by the way, whoever said other, there looks like 12 people, feel free to drop those in the chat. I would love to see what those other ways are, because I'm sure some people have some overlap there. So I'm going to stop sharing that. At this point, we've got plenty of time for the live Q&A. As a reminder, if you go into that kind of QA tab, you can submit a question. You can also upvote ones that are in there. And I'm going to pull up here on this side. I'm going to look up the most upvoted. All right. Looks like from Sierra asked, I'm curious which Fin metrics you pay the most attention to. So I'm not sure who wants to maybe take that, but I know like Laura and Rachel, you're both kind of more heavily into that. But what are some of the specific metrics?
Yeah, I can get us started. So like I said, Fin CSAT is something I personally look at, but as an operations team on a weekly basis, we review resolution rate, involvement rate, mostly. And involvement rate, for example, will show you maybe where there's like gaps and just like there's nothing even there for Fin to help with, or there's no content. And then resolution rate is maybe like how much content actually addresses this specific need. So those are the three that we look at most.
Yeah, we're very similar, and it's nice to see we show a percentage. So like Fin was involved in this many conversations, he resolved this many, which saved our teammates, this percentage of their work, which is ultimately ends up, saving them work time. So
yeah, and I would also say like the part of it is about, especially if you're getting started, it's about establishing that baseline. And what Rachel just said, it's like you want to get a sense of what kind of coverage does Fin have in the beginning. And then you can use that as that starting point. Then you start to look at the quality of that, the resolution rates. And then ideally, as you continue to implement it and you continuously improve it, ideally that percentage gets higher and higher and higher as your CSAT still going up and resolution rates staying high. And another thing I've noticed is sometimes the resolution rate can often like fluctuate a bit too. And then a lot of that kind of comes down to like, are you adding new content into something? Or are you having it start to answer more questions? So always take context as to like what those metrics are and what changes you've already been implementing. Another one here, I love this question. How do you calculate the ROI of implementing AI? I know that like overall AI might be a tough one, but I know we've kind of done this and some other folks have around Fin AI Agent. So, or even Copilot, but can anybody kind of maybe talk to like the ROI calculation there?
I can start. So if you are in support ops, you probably already know like your cost per head, your cost per chat, your cost per email, your cost per call. So if you're introducing Fin on just chat, you can calculate just based on that. For us, we have Fin on email now as well. We don't take calls, and we also understand what the cost per head is. We also have like specific KPIs, like depending on what inboxes you usually work on, like the complexity of the conversations you're taking. So let's say if Fin is taking a lot of the basic conversations, maybe we don't calculate them as highly as like the very technical ones, which cost us more. So that's essentially like what we will compare like for like. Now, the more complicated thing now is Copilot, and we're still figuring out like how to to calculate the exact gains. It's only been a while that we've been using it, but it's something I think you could look at. You could either look at like the time to like be completely onboarded could be improved. So if you usually like track people's metrics in their first 6 months in the job, see if that's improving, if their CSAT's better versus the last cohort, or you can see if actual people's KPIs are going up. Now, the one thing I will say for the support agents out there, because they don't want you to constantly be looking at this, is that Finn is taking easier conversations, they're taking harder ones. So you also have to take that into account, that you can't always just expect their metrics will double because Finn is there. You have to consider if your volume is going up in general, etc. So try to be kind to all our support folks who are still dealing with really tough conversations, even if Finn is there.
Love that. Let's see this one from Laura. How are you tracking themes with Finn? I find that I'm doing a lot of manual work to try and get to the bottom of some themes. Maybe there's a better or more efficient way.
I can go just because, like I mentioned, like you hopefully you're going to use an AI solution to do that. Like you're saying, a lot of people are doing it manually. There is parts in intercom reporting where it will give you like themes around like topics maybe that aren't being resolved very much, and will ask you to address that. So that will get you somewhat there. If you want something more specific, then I would suggest using an AI solution, whether it's like you already understand fully what topics you handle, and then you have like descriptions of those topics, and AI can evaluate where that conversation sits in there. Now, one problem that we've had is that we have so many new products that keeping that classification up to date is difficult. And it's the same for manual review. So I don't have a perfect answer for you, but I do think you can make yourself more efficient by using some kind of AI solution.
Yeah, just to jump in there as well, we actually have a tool called CX Moments, which would kind of fall in line with themes or at least topics overall. And rather than looking directly at maybe a theme that's assigned already as a filter or an object, what it will do is look at it based on conversational topics that constantly come up. So if you're seeing things that come up constantly in conversation, any sort of campaigns, themes, or anything, like a huge example would be any sort of business that works in vulnerable customers, when they have able to go in and spot those vulnerable words or those trigger words that would be big for being able to take them out, and then maybe either if you want to QA them on a separate, or just have a good note of them, maybe if there's some sort of legislation in place where you need to get back to them and things like that as well. But there is items out there for it. The one I'm referring to is CX Moments or Scorebuddy CX.
Love it. I've got another one here. This one's from Nick. What are your Finn statistics? I would love to know resolution rate and percentage of chats handled. Is anybody kind of comfortable? I know, like Laura, you might have mentioned some of that, but are we able to share some of the specific metrics around resolution rates and the percentage of I think you said something like 40% of conversations, or I can't remember.
40% resolved, but involvement is like high 80s, I think, at this point. Yeah, I think I can say that confidently because it's been a few months. I won't say like what we got last week because, like Mark said, it can go up and down. I don't want to be like, guys, we're really high. But yeah, definitely I can confidently say those two.
Yeah. Rachel, are you able to share anything too? I don't want to put you on the spot, but
yeah, I was actually pulling up our slide deck from Monday so I could give you like real-time answers from what we were this week. We're in a slower period right now for us, but we had 83 chats resolved. We're a smaller company too, but 83 chats resolved by Finn, which was 26.18% resolution rate for Finn this week or last week. And he had an 89.5 CSAT. So because CSAT just keeps climbing. So that kind of gives you a little bit. And that's pretty consistent. Like we've had some weeks, like I said, in the 30s or higher for resolution rate. And so it kind of will go back and forth. We also see themes because our members are doing the similar things at similar times. So we'll see some similar themes. So.
Yeah, and Jordan, I know y'all are starting with Agent, but for Copilot, do you have any insights off the top of your head around like the number of people interacting with it? If not, that's fine. I'm just kind of curious if like what percentage of internal reps are leveraging Copilot.
Basically the entire CSM team would be involved with the Copilot in terms of already seeing, and again, we are using it only a short while, but we are already seeing huge value in the resolution of a ticket and how quick it's solved, as well as just the other parts of like summarization and things like that as well. It's just a huge part of just making sure things are a lot cleaner done. It gives us a better voice to the customer as well, which is obviously huge. It has everyone singing off the same hymn sheet, really, which is a huge part to it as well. And it really like translates directly from our internal and our, as I say, with that voice straight to the customer. So being able to do that and really focus on being able to make sure that we are all giving and delivering the same sort of support is a huge value for us. But in terms of specifics numbers, that's as far as I have so far.
Yeah, no, that's great. And that's another thing we've noticed. We talked about kind of like training Finn, getting Finn to interact with more conversations. And we've even noticed that internally, which is sometimes internal reps, like people have seen crappy tools in the past, and there's some skeptics out there. And so we find that once people start using it, like internal reps starting to use AI to help them answer questions, once they start to have some of those great interactions, they're way more likely to continue to use it. There's a very short learning curve, but like once they get to that aha moment, they're usually much more receptive. This is an interesting one from Andrew. With Finn being able to interact and answer emails now, what do you think is key to feeling comfortable with activating it? Live chat is very easy to jump in on, and it's generally simpler questions, while email tends to be more complicated asks and much harder to interrupt if something is incorrect. I'm going to let some folks take that, but I think this is a really good one. This is something that we had worked on for a while. I think we recently rolled out Finn can now interact with like on the email conversations. And a lot of this, like Andrew, you pointed out a great one, which is for you, like those email conversations might be more complicated or more nuanced. That is what we see very often. Other times what we've noticed is some companies and their teams, Rachel had just mentioned, a lot of their customers initially, that was their kind of like channel of choice. And so sometimes those email conversations are just like chat conversations, are simple and repetitive, but other times they can be much more nuanced. And so that is a different kind of challenge. So I would love to hear, like Laura, Rachel, even Jordan, do you have any maybe insights around how to handle like the email side of these like AI interactions?
Yeah, we have a conversation designer, shout out Fred. He basically went through, honestly, a good few weeks of testing a lot of different questions on Finn over email, and to basically we would test to see how it would actually look over email as the customer. How would you intervene on the intercom side if needed? How would it be passed to our human support team? And we haven't found too many issues with it. Now, in saying that, we've grown very comfortable and confident with using Finn in general. So I definitely wouldn't jump right into email. I probably would just start with chat and see what the resolution rates are like. But we also, like our support team, they're always in the inbox. Like they can see those conversations that are ongoing with Finn. If something starts to go awry and it gets passed to a human, we know it'll be picked up immediately and we'll learn from it. So I think customers will have to understand that as well, is that if you do have a Finn over email conversation that doesn't get resolved because it was a more complicated conversation, the ideal is that Finn hasn't wasted anybody's time and has actually gathered a lot of information for the human support agent, who's now going to just get straight in and not have to ask you, what's the problem?
Love that. All right. So more of like a bit of a technical question here from Joe. A majority of our answers are based on customers' Salesforce information, such as where they live or what they subscribe to. Can Finn handle that? My understanding is yes, it can. I don't have like the technical information up in front of me, and so I can make a note to follow up with you, Andrew, like after that. But my understanding is absolutely. Not only do we have a Salesforce integration that allows you to pull in the information that you need into Intercom, into the inbox, and you can obviously leverage that in routing rules, workflows, all of that. And because of that, you can also leverage it within Finn, because Finn obviously works with our workflows. So you should be able to build out workflows in Intercom that say, assuming that a person has these characteristics from Salesforce or these attributes, to then send them down a certain path and then customize that path for that. Let's see. Another really interesting one from, I believe it's Leodith. Apologize if I'm pronouncing that name wrong. Is it possible to monitor customers with Finn negative CSATs, and the next time they reach out, they can be routed directly to live agents instead? This is to remove the frustrations of customers who feel they're only talking to bots. Again, that answer is yes, but Rachel, do you want to take that one?
Yes, you absolutely can. So you can create a tag in Intercom that it refers to, we call ours no bot. But so if you find someone that like you don't want them ever to interact with Fin again, you can tag them that way in the user tags. And then the next time they write in, it will just bypass Fin and go directly to a human agent. So there is a way to do that, because there are a few, but that it's nice to have that option.
Great. And I believe this next one will probably also be for you, Rachel, but it says, do you add transcripts of the webinars in order to feed Fin? Because you had mentioned you use like YouTube. Are you going through and grabbing like the transcripts and putting them in? What's your process around that?
Yeah, I personally have not been the one to do that, but yes, I do understand that we're taking the transcripts as well and feeding those, because that really helps with all the different pieces and in putting that in there. So anything, like we host a lot of webinars, and so to talk about product and what we do, and so we have all those transcripts that have been fed in there, as well as I talked about our YouTube, some of our scripts for our YouTube content and things like that as well. So good question. Yeah.
Great. And I know we're coming up on time, but I think we can knock through a few more of these. Let's see, how are you using AI to get insights from conversations? That's from Lucinda. I mean, I know a big part of that is really, there's a number of reports and reporting that are available inside Intercom to be able to kind of surface those automatically. And then I believe, Laura, you had talked through some of the filtering that you do in order to like kind of build out little cohorts of those interactions and then like reading through them. But maybe can you share some around that?
Yeah, and also to say that Jordan mentioned as well, the Scorebuddy CX feature is really good to like maybe, for example, isolate like customer once this escalated, customer was upset, that kind of natural language processing that you can do. So that's great. And then also like, I mean, don't be afraid to play around with AI yourself. It's not as intimidating as you might think. I have myself, and you can very simply set up a prompt to ask it to evaluate what was in this conversation. Now, that is something you can play around with, but to do a full solution, I think you should probably like look into a real tool. And I don't think I can disclose any because we're not in contract with any, but we have tested out multiple ourselves. And it's interesting to see what they all are able to do, whether it's predict CSAT or predict negative sentiment, or maybe predict what is a churn that's going to happen. And then you can like review from there. But yeah, depending on the solution, they're going to probably like be really good at one of those.
Great. Yeah. Jordan, did you want to add anything to that? You're on mute.
No, in terms of how we are using Fin, it is still such early stages. We are trying, as Laura said, we do have the CX moments that helps us with, again, like looking at sentiment of overall of all the conversations and reviewing all that, as well as sentiment resolution, which if anyone's unsure about that, it's kind of how it started and how it ended, which is a hugely useful way of looking at your conversations rather than just looking at how it ended. But yeah, that would be the kind of main ones we look at the moment. As well as, again, yeah, as I said, mentioned earlier, resolution and really understanding that and how we can improve that using the AI.
Fantastic. Well, we did an awesome job on time. We got through a lot of those. The ones we didn't get to, we'll try and get through and get those answered as well. But first, I just want to say thank you so much, Rachel, Jordan, Laura, for spending time. Everybody that joined, your thoughtful questions. This was fantastic. In about 24 hours, you'll get an email to whatever you registered with that's going to have a link to the recording. We'll create a bunch of clips around some of these little snippets. We'll also have a summary of all the key takeaways that you can review or share with other people. And we're going to include a few resources as well if you want to start to dive into either getting used to this, or if you want to go through and check out kind of like how to optimize your help center. We'll have some links in there for you as well. But thank you everybody so much for coming, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Bye, everyone.